Hey, greetings and salutations, and welcome to day 4 of my little experiment here to see how much I can get done in 1 week, working a minimum of 1 hour to 2 hours a day on an old project that should have been done 10 years ago. But day 1, 2, and 3 amounted to doing all the rust removal mechanically with a DA and 120 grit sandpaper. And I've still got a lot of body work to do on this side, especially on this rear quarter. And I will likely spray primer on this thing before I get to finishing the body work on this, because I don't want this to flash rust. Not that it's going to do that anytime real soon, but I just as soon get everything covered that's ready that I can get covered. Well, right now I'm working on some of the detail stuff. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. The areas that were covered and not touched are relatively rust free. All right, there's very little surface rust on these areas, and these have been bare just as long as the rest of the car. You know, this all needs to be done by hand. I can't get a machine in here to do this. I really need to oil that hinge. The trunk lid, this rear section of the trunk lid has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 body lines in it. And there's body filler in that. So this needs to be done by hand. I can't do it with a machine, otherwise I'll end up breaking through the primer and get into the body filler, and I'll have to redo all this, and I don't want to do that because I spent a lot of time repairing this trunk lid. So I have to do that with my hand. That's going to take some time. And things like, well, I can probably do this with a machine real quick. But look at the difference. This has got some surface rust and this is clean. So that's what I'm working on today. Let's see how far I can get in an hour. Nice catch. Man, you really do need to be more careful. Falling all the time like that, you're gonna break a leg. Okay. Now, you've probably heard the expression that your paint job is only going to be as good as your prep work, and there's a lot of truth to that statement. When you get ready to spray paint, you should look at the primer and just envision a color on it. If there's any imperfections in the primer at all, it's going to show through your paint job. I can show you many examples on the dually. One of the things that's going to show up in your paint more often than any is going to be finger marks. I'll show you right here. And then we can compare the two side by side. If you take a piece of sandpaper and you go like this and you just sand back and forth, like this. Ah, that lighting sucks in here. Just so you know, if anybody feels benevolent and wants to gift me some lighting, just saying. Yeah, that's showing up. You see the tiger striping? That's from your fingers. Right? And what that will create in your paint job, especially if you're going with a really high gloss paint job, is it'll show little waves in your paint, because that's a variation. It's minute, but it's a variation in the level of the primer, and that will telescope through your paint job. Just like, see this right here? See that run right there? If I left that run would show right through the paint. This car is going to be black. I don't need that stuff showing through the paint. So If you noticed when I started sanding on this, I was sanding with a block because a block is flatter than my hand. Although using a crosshatch pattern will work if you got some experience, but this will always outperform your hand when you're trying to create a flat surface. You saw me going here. I was working in a cross pattern on the flat areas, right? So I'm working like this, and then I'm coming back and going the other direction. And that will create a really flat surface, and it will highlight and showcase any low spots. So if there was a low spot in this, it would show up as an unsanded spot. So that's a spot you could highlight, and either, depending how deep it was, you could either throw some high build primer on it, on that spot, and sand it out, or you could put a little body filler in there and bring that height up. But you never want to use your bare hand and sand like this, because it'll put fingerprints, it'll put finger tracks in. If you're going to sand by hand, not using a block, and in some instances you won't be able to use a block, like in here, in a compound curve, you're going to have to use your hand. So you want to use your hand in a way where you're not going like this, but you're working against your fingers, and you still work in a crosshatch pattern. Does that make sense? Wax on, wax off. Okay, end of tutorial. I need to finish this. You stay right there. Did it again. God, you're so clumsy. Oh, now you're upside down, goof. Hang on. Okay, another hour and a half in the bag. And I'm gonna pull this out and dry it out again. So if you're new to the channel and you're wondering why the hell am I only working on this thing for an hour, to an hour and a half every day. And the short answer is I've got a lot of projects. And if I spend too much time on one, I do that at the expense of the others. Well, so I have two options. I can either abandon some projects and sell them, or I can work on them. And this one has been, you know, a very, 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 very long-term project. And the thing is, once I start working on it, I start to get fired up about it again. And then I'll hit a snag. Either I'll run out of money, or my interest will wane. I'll start thinking about something else, and I'll move on to a different thing, and then I'll forget about this. And I'll come. And you know, you want to know what my least favorite thing to do in this life is? Even I disdain it even more than a root canal, and I've had a couple of those. It's body work, sanding. I hate sanding. I abhor it. I love painting, but painting, actual spraying of paint, is the 5% payoff for all the hard work. That's why I didn't put a whole lot of time and effort into doing a Jeep, because, you know, when I got it, it was a $350 hoopty. Why would I put a $2,000 paint job on it, only to take it out in the desert and scratch it all to hell? If I have $500 into that paint job, I'm ahead of the 8 ball. I have something that looks good, is functional, and doesn't cost a lot of money to do. When I started this project, I had a lot of money. I didn't have any kids, I didn't have a girlfriend, and I didn't have any debt. And now I have all those things. The direction that this project started in has changed. If I came into ownership of this vehicle now, I would take a totally different tact. I would probably tend to drive it and not worry so much about how it looked. And right now I just want it. You know, you might be thinking, well, if you don't got a lot of money, why are you sticking all this money into this? I've got some body filler. There's my gallon of Clausen's. I have the material. I need to get it on the car. So right now, this project needs time. It doesn't need money, it just needs time. So my commitment is to spend at least an hour a day until I can get this thing to a point where I get it in primer. At least this week. An hour a day this week. Let's see how far I can get, and then we'll take it from there. It's looking pretty good. And when you see progress, it kind of motivates you. What I did today. I sanded this portion. That's where we started this morning. I sanded around the opening. This, around all this. I sanded around that rear window. I sanded this. I sanded around this, and I sanded this. All by hand. Now my hand hurts. So, day 4 is in the can. If you like this series, and you're into Mopars and stuff like that, smash that like button. And then share this video with your vast social media network. That helps the channel a lot. If you do that, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks. If you haven't subbed yet, underneath this window is a button that says subscribe. Click that and a little bell icon that's right next to it, so you too can be notified of future uploads. You don't want to miss this, no? That's all I got for today, fellas. Until next time, you have fun, stay safe, shoot straight, keep your powder dry, and have a splendid day. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Just in the off chance that you might be wondering what I'm going to be doing with the Jeep. Well, I've ordered some more liner, and I am going to spray another coat on that, but I'm going to use another method. So stay tuned for that. The material should be here sometime next week. Hopefully I can get to it next weekend if the weather permits. So stay tuned for that. It's not over yet. Bye.